I think yesterday's class you didn't attend it, right? Did you attend yesterday's class?
No.
Yeah, I just finished the data types actually yesterday. So yeah. So let's see, this is just a demo classes. Once we will get into the main classes, I will again repeat the concepts, no problem. So maybe today I will explain the limitations of Excel. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let me just start. So yeah, previously we discussed what is SQL, right? Basically, SQL is nothing but the place. 1 second, let me just maximize this. So what we discussed about database and we discussed about SQL, right? Database is nothing but collection of data where we store the data, right? So SQL is nothing but it is a language which we will use to communicate with the database. SQL is a language which is used to communicate with the database. Basically in database we will just store the data. It is just a collection of data wherever in real time we will deal with big data, so obviously to store that data we will use databases. Database is a place where we will store the data, where we will manipulate the data, where we will just deal with the data, right? So to deal with the data we will use a language called as SQL. SQL is a language which is used to communicate with the database, right? So obviously there should be some language so that by using which we need to communicate what is our requirements, right? So that is what SQL is, and SQL is a universal declared language. Whatever tools we are using, obviously the concepts will be same. SQL is one such language. Whatever we are going to learn, all the concepts will we will learn about SQL language only. SQL is one such language, and out of this, we will have just to use this language, we will have so many tools like MySQL, Oracle SQL, SQL Server, like that. I already said these points in the last demo, right? So SQL Server is a product from Microsoft. This MySQL and Oracle SQL is a product from Oracle. Likewise, we have some more tools, maybe PostgreSQL, like that. We are having some tools, but these are all the different tools used in the market. But the language is same. The SQL is one subject. By to use this language to basically to deal with database we'll use this language, and to use this language we will use different tools. Here in our course we are just trying to learn about MySQL because this is an open source platform in the sense, as I said, it is freely available for everyone. So all the companies are trying to use MySQL only nowadays because of this reason, right? And in databases we will store data in the form of tables, and we will create data inside the tables in the form of rows and columns. We know that, right? So inside database we will create tables, and inside tables we will insert the data. Okay, so again here, suppose as I wrote previously also, if I wanted to store any employees data, we will just use the table name as employees, and this will be our column names, right? Employee ID, employee name, if it is salary, anything. anything whatever we wanted to store, we will just create like this, right? Maybe date of joining, like this. So this will be my column data, this will be my columns. Vertically whatever we are writing, that we will call it as columns, and this is the table name, this is the column names, and inside we will just insert some data or enter some data. Okay, like this. So this will be our row, right? So obviously tables will be created by using rows and columns. This horizontal part is row and the vertical part is column, right? This is how we will enter the data in databases also. But to enter the data, to do all these things, we will use SQL language. That's it. We will have so many let me just, this is the table, right? So we have so many concepts we in the inside the database, we will learn all those concepts detailing. So basically here I created this is one table, imagine this is one table. Okay, so as I said, in this SQL is nothing but it is a RDBMS. SQL works with RDBMS concept. Okay, that is relational database management system. That means if we are we will in this SQL we will create our data in the form of tables, and all tables will be related to the each other. If tables are related to each other, we will call that management system, we will call that DBMS as our DBMS. Okay, so we need to create the tables, and in the SQL whatever tools we are coming under this SQL language, in all those tools the tables will be related to each other only. Okay, so that is the concept here. Okay, so again my what I am trying now, what my question is, suppose I wrote this data in the form of Excel, right? So if I can able to store this data in the form of Excel, then what is the need of database, right? Obviously we will have some limitations here, we will have, maybe we have some problems, and just to overcome that problems, maybe we came up with one it's not like maybe, obviously in Excel we have some limitations, and we are just to overcome that limitations, we came up with a concept called as databases. Right now let's try to understand what is that limitations, and let's try to see how we are overcoming all those limitations of Excel with the help of databases. Okay, just a second. Okay, so suppose this one, this is my data, right? Suppose imagine this is some, you can see here I'm having some columns here, that is order date, order ID, order date, customer ID, customer name, address of the customer, product ID, product name, price column, supplier ID, supplier name, and manufacturer name. Okay, so just imagine this, I'm just selling any products online, and this is the data which I generated, and I stored this data in a form of Excel file. Basically this is an e-commerce website data, I can say. Okay, so if we sell any products online, obviously our data will be like this only, right? So whenever we sell any product, one order ID will be generated, that is this order ID, and this is the order date, customer details, product information, and supplier or manufacturer information, right? Suppose if we store the data in the form of Excel file, obviously I will write it, I will write this in this manner only, right? So if we store data in this manner, or if we store the data in Excel file like this, what is the limitations we will have? First is obviously data limit, right? In Excel, I can store only up to 1 million rows. Okay, we know in real time we are just dealing with big data, so obviously I want some better storage space, correct? So I can't store this data, I can't store the big data in Excel files, and this is one of the drawback, right? And the second one is performance issues. So I will have some kind of performance issues in Excel. That is, if I store data in this in this in the Excel file, as my data is increasing, obviously my performance will goes down. Here I just stored only some rows, so I can access the Excel file easily and normally only. However, my data is increasing. In as the within the increase of data, I will get some performance issues. Obviously, if I can if the data size is small, then it is well and good. But if you want to store more than thousands of data, if you wanted to store thousands of data or lakhs of data, just to open the Excel file only, we will just take the time to load that data, right? So obviously we will get performance issues, right? This is simple examples I can say, and simple limitations. And the third limitation is accessibility of data. Okay. To if I want to see any particular record here, I need to apply filters in Excel, right? So as long as however my data is increasing, to just to display some any particular data, I need to apply lots of filters. But again, in SQL, in databases, we don't have these issues. We don't have this kind of data limit. We can store a large, big data there, and we don't have any performance issues. Also, we have so many concepts there which helps us to, by using which will helps us to improve the performance, right? Accessibility of the data, we can just access whatever we want the data. We will have so many, clauses there. We have so many so many I can say so many options there, or so many concepts there. I don't speak about them very technically at this point of time, but using all those concepts, we will just try to filter the data very easily. Okay, mainly we have so many clauses like where clause, group by clause, having clause. By using the clauses accordingly, we will just filter the data, right? So this is again the third drawback which I have in Excel. This is some simple drawbacks. Now let's just try to talk about the main drawback here, that is data redundancy. Okay, so data redundancy is nothing but, if you can observe this data here, maybe in product name and maybe supplier name, maybe manufacturer name. Here I stored only 8 rows of data. But if you observe in this column, my data is repeating again and again. If you can see in product name, I wrote smartphone many times, right? If you can see here, if you observe here, we have only two supplier names here. One is Om Trades and one is AM Trades. I have only two suppliers, but for each and every row, I am writing that particular supplier name and manufacturer name also. So if I store the data in Excel files like this, then each and every row I need to give the each and every data, and like this, the data is repeating again and again. The data repetition is happening here. That is called as data redundancy. Data redundancy is, just a second, sorry. So data redundancy is nothing but the repetition of data. Okay, if the data is repeating again and again, we will call it as data redundancy. Here my data is repeating. Just imagine, this is, I just use some 8 rows of data here. If you talk about any big firms like Amazon or Flipkart, if they start using Excel files like this to store their data on daily basis only, they will just sell some lakhs of products, right? So if they keep on writing like this, how many times, for example, sorry, so for example, let's imagine any product. If we imagine only iPhone, they will just sell iPhones, maybe some thousands of iPhones on daily basis, right? So for each and every for each and every record, or for each and every row, they can't keep on writing iPhone like this, right? So this is the, we cannot store the data in the Excel file like this. If we have to store in the Excel file, obviously we need to write the data like this only. So this is the major drawback of Excel. The data is repeating again and again and again, and again, due to this repetition of data, I can say memory wastage is done, right? Wastage of memory is also happening. This is one more related drawback, I can say. Due to this repeating of the data, repetition of the data, my memory will get wasted, right? So instead of storing like this, if I can store the data like this in databases, let's see, suppose example, instead of storing the data like this, just to get rid of this data redundancy and wastage of memory issue, imagine if I store the data like this. Suppose I'm having customer ID, customer name, and address here. This address belongs to customer table only, customer data only. This is all the customer data. Instead of storing the complete data in one large table, what we can do, we will just try to store the data separately. Suppose I'll just copy this, I'll just paste it here, and I will just keep this as, I'll create this as a separate table, and I'll just name this as customer details table. Okay. So all the customer, to just store the all the customers, I created a one separate table. So obviously as I created customer ID, customer name, and address here, no need of repeating this data in this table. So I'm just removing customer name and address from here, but I'm just keeping customer ID as it is. So let me just divide the data in the same way. Instead of storing in one large table, we will just try to divide the data into multiple tables, and we will store the data separately. That is what we will do in databases. Okay. Let's see. Suppose product ID, product name, and price belongs to products table. I'll just copy and paste it here. I'll give the name as product details. Okay. Maybe I'll remove product name and price from here. Right. I'm just trying to keep product ID as it is. Next, maybe supplier details. I'll just keep all these three. So here, if you can observe, instead of storing, if I am storing or if I am using this as a separate column, instead of storing again and again this value, I can store only normally one time, right? I'll just rename this table as supplier details table. And instead of writing this complete data again and again, I can just use S1 only once, and I will just use the S2 data only once, right? Because I'm using this data separately. I'm just not relating this data. I'm not keeping for order ID 1 what is the supplier ID. I'm just not using the long table here. I'm not storing all the details in one large table. That is the reason if I store the separately table like this, I can just store about the supplier details only. What is my supplier ID, what is my supplier name. If I keep this manufacturer name also here, then what is that particular manufacturer name, I can just write only once, right? No need of repeating that again. Am I right? Can I able to understand? Let me just remove first this details from here, and supplier ID I'm keeping as it is. Okay. So what I did here, maybe I'm keeping order details here as it is, order ID, order date I'm keeping as it is. I'll just consider this as a base table, and I'm just created three more tables here, that is customer details table, product details table, and supplier details table. So previously what just happened, supplier name and manufacturer name, it got repeated again and again, but here I just divided this data into multiple tables, and instead of writing the same data again and again, I just wrote, or I just saved the supplier details in one separate column, one separate table, and I used only once, right? Now let's see, still we can able to relate the answers, still we can able to understand the concepts here because of this common column. Suppose, let's see, If I ask you what is the customer name of order ID 3, obviously if we have this common columns, the reason why I kept these columns in the sense, whenever I'm dividing the large table into smaller tables, actually technically we will call this concept as normalization. Okay, we will discuss all these technical terms going forward in the classes, but for now just try to understand the concept. So this is a base table. Previously I stored, if I store data in the Excel file, I need to keep all the details like this, right? So because of that, due to the all the limitations or all the problems what we are having, databases came into existence. And here we will, how we will store the data in the sense, as I said just now, in databases I said we will create tables, and all the tables will be related to the each other, then that is called as rdbms, right? So the same thing, that is what we did. We are creating multiple tables here, and we are just trying to create a relationship between them. So just to keep a relationship, we will just make sure to use a common columns in between. Suppose I'm having customer ID in this column, I'm having customer ID in this column. So because of this common column, I can just relate these two tables, right? So likewise, I just kept product ID, supplier ID as it is, so that I can relate to these tables, right? So now let's see, if I ask you what is the customer name, I removed customer name and address details from here. But if I ask what is the customer name of order ID 4, I can even answer, because here I'm having customer ID. For order ID 4, customer ID is 1. So I can just go to the customer table now, and I can see the customer ID 1, the customer name is John, right? Still we can relate the complete data by storing the tables like this also, right? Likewise, if I wanted to know any product name, I can see here, I can see the product ID, I can go to the product name and I can understand, right? Here, as I'm writing all the data in the Excel file like this, I'm just trying to validate, or I'm just trying to match the values. But in SQL, we are having so many concepts, and by writing some queries, we will just display the data very easily. But this is how we will relate all the tables by just keeping the common columns like this. And by just dividing the data into separate tables, the data redundancy or repetition of data problem is, we just overcome, right? Previously, in supplier ID or supplier name, manufacturer name, used so much. Again we used the data again and again. The data was repeated so many times in each and every row, right? Instead of that, I created a separate table like this. Correct? So obviously, as if the data will be repeated, our memory will also get wasted, right? So this is how, if in Excel file, we will store the data like that, which we saw previously, but in databases, we will create the tables like this. And due to that reason, we will just overcome with this point, with this drawback. I hope I'm clear. Perfect, Prakash. I hope everyone is clear. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Okay. So this is about data redundancy and wastage of memory. These 2 points are of course related with each other. Once we divide the tables into multiple tables like this, we will get rid of this repetition of data problem, as well as memory also won't be wasted. Again, in SQL we have so many techniques by using which we will make sure to keep our data safe. Just to by using some concepts, we will try to improve the performance of databases. We will make sure not to waste our the data like that. We are having some concepts there like indexes, views, each and every concept. Whenever I'm discussing, I will tell you the use cases, which concept is used for what purpose. Okay, so this is one limitation. And next important thing, data integrity, data consistency and data integrity. This is one more limitation which we face in Excel. Suppose I discussed it. We will discuss optimization also. What kind of optimizations, Prakash?
Hi, ma'am. Good
Hi.
evening. So
Mhm.
it's like in automation of queries in joins or
Mhm. I mean, yeah, of course. By writing, by using which method we will just try to get the better performance of optimization. We will discuss that also. Along with that, within the concepts, by using which concept we can just try to retrieve the data faster with the better optimization techniques. Obviously, index is one such concept, and we will discuss about that point also.
okay, ma'am. Thanks.
Yeah. Maybe we are, as you asked, whenever we are performing joins, whenever we are using joins, subqueries, everything, how we will just try to write a queries so that we don't get more, you know, perform optimization kind of thing. How we will just try to retrieve the data quickly, like that we will discuss everything detailing. Okay, so the next point, as I'm saying, data consistency and data integrity. So suppose if I enter any data wrong, suppose previously here, if you can see, I'm having some price column here, or else I'm having some customer ID, whatever it is. In Excel, if I'm entering some wrong data, if I'm entering here instead of a number, if I'm entering some text, it is just allowing me to enter. Excel, if I wrote any wrong data, Excel won't allow me to do so, right? It won't throw me any error, it won't stop me to enter any wrong data. Whatever I enter, it will just accept, right? It won't stops me and it won't throw me any error stating I'm just entering the wrong data. So whenever we are dealing with big data, this will become an issue for us. So obviously, when our system should such robust that whenever we are just trying to enter any irrelevant data or wrong data, it should throw us an error, right? That is what the main point here, and that is called as data integrity. And that will be, we will overcome, we will have this issue here, and we will overcome that issue in the SQL part, right? Obviously, in databases, if we write any errors, it will just throw us. If we write anything wrong, it will just throw us the errors there. And not only about this data types, just to get rid of this consistency kind of thing, this problem. Suppose if I am, instead of numbers, if I am entering here any character data, I can enter here normally, but in SQL, we will, whenever we are creating tables itself, we will just define a data types there, and according to that data type, whatever data types we are defining, that data type will decide what kind of value I can enter inside that particular table, right? So that in accordingly, if I enter any wrong data, it will just throw me the error, right? And if you can see here, suppose if I enter, I'm entering one more data here. Okay. Okay, like this, I'm entering any data. So now, whatever data I entered, is that correct, this row? No, right? Because here I entered, previously I had only 8 rows of data. Okay, now I entered ninth row here, and I entered some details. But when order ID will be generated, once I delivers, I mean, once anyone, any customer, yeah, he placed an order, once the order got placed, then only our order ID will be generated. I gave one order ID, I gave one order date, I wrote customer ID as C, but I don't have customer C9 in customer details table. Without having customer C9 data in customer details table, how I can generate an order? If I generate an order also, where I will just, where we will deliver this product, we don't have customer details only, right? So obviously this is strong data. Here Excel is not stopping me to enter this data, but in SQL in databases, if I try to enter this data in order details table, it will throw me error stating first go and enter customer C9 data in customer details table, and then we can if we have that data in customer details table only, we can able to enter C9 data in the order details table, right? That is the one more point here. The same thing, this is also comes under data integrity only, but you know, even the databases will make sure about this point also. Without having the main, without having the data in the main table, it won't allow me to enter that related data in the another table, right? Without having C9 data here, I really cannot, I don't know who is the customer C9. I just wrote C9 here, customer ID, but I don't have the customer name and address. So obviously where we can deliver that product, this is wrong. Obviously we need to enter for C9 details here. If we have customer data here, then only we can able to enter that particular customer data's order details in this order details table. This is base table. Okay, that is one more point. All these things, all these problems, Excel won't throw us any error. Whatever we enter, irrespective of, you know, whether it is right or wrong, it will just allow us. But due to this kind of problems only, due to this kind of challenges only, databases came into existence, by using which all these things, and obviously along with these things we have so many other points, so many advantages, by using which we will deal with the data in a better way by using databases. So these are some limitations which we will overcome in databases or SQL. I hope I'm clear. Perfect. So this is about limitations of Excel and how we will overcome, I mean, basically why we need databases and how we will overcome in SQL. Okay, so we already done with the user interface of MySQL, right? We already created some tables, inserted the data, and we already done with select command, and data types also we discussed yesterday, right? And this is just a demo classes. So if anyone is missed in any class, I mean any concept, we will just cover it again later also. Okay, I think Lakshmi is one student who came today new, right? Lakshmi Rao, can you hear me?
Yes, Naveen.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have any basic knowledge on SQL previously, Lakshmi?
Yeah, I have a little bit of knowledge, not very deep. So
Okay,
I
okay, no problem. Yes, please. Still no problem. We just finished only a little bit of introduction about how we will use this MySQL once we are done with demo classes. Whenever I'll show you the installation process of MySQL, once again I can show you, of course now also even I can explain, once we open the MySQL server, this is the list of databases we have, and by clicking this option we can able to open a new file where we will write all the SQL queries. And after writing all the SQL queries, whenever we want to execute, we will select that, and we will, this is the execute button, third option. Okay, so you can understand all the points, no problem. So we just finished understanding about creating databases, creating tables, and inserting data, and what is data types also we finished, right? Again, as I said, if anyone came in between, if anyone attended today only, if you, and yesterday also, if yesterday's class if anyone missed, no problem, we will uh, you know eventually you will just come to know where you can understand all these concepts, or I will repeat once we will enter into our actual concepts, no problem. Okay, so yeah, now here, as I said, after creating the database, to activate the database we will use command, right? So this is the command which we will use. First, I created the database. The syntax is create database, database name, and I used use command to activate the database. So let me just activate the database once again. Use SQL 8. Let me just use as 8. We already created 8, right? So I'm just activating this database now. Once I execute this statement, let me just zoom it out. If I execute this statement, I'll select and I execute. You can see here this particular SQL 8 database came into activation, right? This is actually highlighted. We will have some list of databases available here. So every time whenever we are working, we need to first activate the database so that SQL won't confuse which database we are using. Right, so I activated the database. In this database, we already created the table, that is employees table. This is the syntax, create table name, and within the parentheses we will use column name, and we will write data types accordingly. In yesterday's class I said difference between char and varchar. If it is possible, please watch the video. You will get a demo link, or else once we get into the actual classes I will repeat that concept once again if needed. Okay, no problem. So I inserted some data, and right, by using insert command and by using select command, we display the data. That is what we finished. That's it. So next, let me just open a new file and let's start a new concept today, that is SQL sublanguages. Okay, so SQL sublanguage. Let me just share my complete screen. So as you can see here, we have something called as SQL sublanguage or commands. SQL commands, basically we have 5 types of SQL sublanguage. We have 5 types of sublanguages in SQL, that is DDL, DML, DCL, TCL and DQL. These 5 types are different types of sublanguages, and and under each and every sublanguage we have some commands. Okay, DDL in the sense data definition language, data manipulation language, data control language, transaction control language, and data query language. And each and every type of the language will have some commands which we will discuss detailedly now. Okay, so obviously there are 5 types: DDL, DML, DCL, TCL and DQL. Okay, so let's see each and everything detailing. First, DDL commands. Okay, DDL is nothing but data definition language. Okay, basically in DDL we are having 5 types of commands again: create, drop, alter, truncate and rename. This 5 commands comes under DDL. Okay, so basically all these commands in comes under DDL, and DDL talks about the structure of the table. Okay, DDL deals about the structure of the table. That is, whatever commands present inside the DDL, all those commands are used to deal with the structure of the table. And the first command is create. Okay, as you can see in this picture, first is create, then drop. Let me just write it listed out here: create, drop, alter, truncate, rename. Right, these are the 5 commands which we have under DDL. Okay, so as I said, we will use this symbol to write commands inside. Right, whenever we have something called as comments, that is, if we don't want to execute anything, if we write any sentence inside comments, that means that particular sentence is not non-executable. Right, so here we will use either this symbol or hash symbol for the single line comments, which we discussed already. So let's discuss each and every concept, each and every command here which is under DDL now. First one is obviously create. We already discussed about create. Create is a command which is used to create any database object. Okay, database objects in the sense, obviously it's nothing but tables, it can be store procedure, views, like that. Okay, so we already discussed how to create a table, right? So I'm not repeating it again. The same syntax, create table, table name, inside the parenthesis we will use column name, and for each and every column name we will define the data type accordingly, right? So that is about the create command. Okay, next we are having drop command. Drop command is used to remove any table permanently from the database. Okay, that is, after creating the table, if we want to remove the table permanently, we will use drop command. Suppose, let me again use the same. I'm just creating one more time this table by using employees1 as a column name so that I can use the drop command on this particular table. So I'm just changing the table name as employees1 and I'm selecting this. I'm executing here. This is how we will execute. Okay. Once I executed, the table got created, and let me insert the data. To insert the data, I will use insert into employees. I will write it as one, employees1 values keyword we need to write, and within the values we need to insert some data, right? So this will be my first row of data and second row of data likewise, where in within the parenthesis we will mention the data in the column wise, and we will use a separator comma so that that is a separator of columns. And after parenthesis, if we use a comma, that means this is the first row data, this is the second row data, right? So I inserted 4 rows there. Once again, I'll just execute this. The data got inserted. Let me select. To display the data, we will use select command. Select star from employees1. Okay, once I created the table here, I just now created and inserted the data, so I can even see the table name which I created here in this list. And to see that, I need to refresh here. We are having something called as schemas. Beside that, we will have refresh button, and below schemas only we can able to see the list of databases available. Once we create any database or once we create any table, to see that name in this list we need to refresh here. So I'm just clicking on refresh. You can see now whatever table I created, I can able to see this employees1 here. And here in MySQL, especially if I'm just selecting this at the bottom, it will just show me the column names and data type names accordingly, right? This is the columns are used and these are the data types. Like this information we can able to see from here, right? So this is my table name. So now let me just use drop command. Drop command, as I said, we will use drop command to remove any table permanently from the database. If I don't want any table from my database, if I want to remove the table completely from my database, I will use drop command. And the syntax is drop table, table name. Okay, so obviously how I will use drop table employees1, right? I'll just select this, I'll execute. You can see my table is removed from here, right? Now if I again display this data, it will throw me error stating there is no such table. See, SQLite database dot table doesn't exist, right? So whenever I use drop command, this table will be removed completely. Okay, this is about the drop command. I hope I'm clear. Next we have alter command. Okay, so very important command in SQL. Alter command, we have so many use cases in alter command. Let's just try to you know understand each one of the use case. Okay, the first use case is that alter is used to remove, actually alter is used to add any column, add a new column in already existing table. Okay, so almost we are having 5 use cases of alter. So the first use case is that the first use case of alter command is alter is used to, we can use alter to add a new column in the already existing table. For example, I already created the employees table. Now if I wanted to add any new column, okay, so if I wanted, I realized that I wanted to add any new column, then obviously I'll use alter command and I can add that particular column name here by using the alter table. Okay, so what is the syntax here in the sense? Alter table, I'm first writing the syntax. So alter table name, we need to use the keyword called as add. Okay, add column name. Whenever we are adding column name, definitely we need to give the data type also, right? So this is my syntax. Alter table name, add, I'm saying I want to add a column and I'll give the column name and I'll just mention what is the data type we are going to use. So let's see, let's write one example for that. Alter table, maybe employees column. You can see for the employees, I have employee ID, employee name, salary and date of joining, right? So I'm using same employees table. I'm using add, maybe I will add some column called as bonus. Any new column I'm adding, sorry, I need to use a keyword called as column first, then I'll use the column name as bonus. Obviously for bonus, either I can use integer or else I can use float also, right? Because float is a data type. Again, it comes under numerical data type. We have two types of numerical data type. One is int and another one is float. Integer, if I use int here, it will just stores only numbers. But if I use float, it will stores integers. Along with the integers, it will store decimal values also. So that is the difference between int and float, right? So I am defining a column name here and I defined a data type as float. Okay, so now let me just execute this. Just a second. Alter table name, add a column is not required. Sorry. I can directly use add column name of data type. Directly I need to write what is the column name and then I need to write what is the data type of it. Okay, so let me just select this and execute again. Table spelling is correct. My bad, why I'm using brackets here. If it is varchar, to define the size we will use the brackets, right? Suppose if I am using any character data, tell me any column name which we will use character data.
Address.
Yeah, address. Thank you. So if it is a character data, if we are using varchar, then only we will use brackets and we will use some size. We will define some size for that particular column name, right? At that time only we will use brackets. Normally for data type, we don't use brackets. In a hurry, I wrote brackets, okay? Alter table name, add column name, and this is the data type. Let me just execute now. It got executed and let's just refresh. I'll check this employees and you can see I got this bonus float, right? One new column got inserted in the already existing table, correct? I'm not adding this for now, so I only added bonus column. Now, the first use case of alter is, as we discussed, if I wanted to add a new column for the already existing table, if I wanted to add a new column, I can use alter. And the syntax is this one, alter table name, add column name of data type, right? So this is how we can add a new column in the already existing table. Okay. So the second
Yeah,
use case.
I have a doubt regarding this add
Uh,
column.
yes, please.
So, coming to add, we can only able to add only one column, one data type, or else we can able to add like bonus and address at a time, or we have to add separately.
So if you are adding two columns at a time, can we add or not, right?
Yes.
Let's check. Suppose I'm writing address also here. Let's use varchar. Often, maybe I'll give bonus 1. Let's check whether it is accepting or not. It is obviously throwing us error, right? We can add only one column at a time.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So second use case is, even we can remove a column from the existing table. Okay, by using alter command only. By using alter command, we can add a new column in the already existing table, or else if we want to remove any column, if we don't, if we think that we don't want any particular column, and if we wanted to remove any particular column from the existing table, we can again use the alter command only. Okay, so use it to remove column from existing table, or existing column also I can say, right? Already created column, if we want to remove, we will use alter command. So again the syntax is simple: alter table, table name. Now here to add a column name, we used a keyword called as add, right? Here to remove the column name, inside alter we will use a keyword called as drop. Previously we saw drop command already. Whenever, if we want to remove the table name directly, completely, if we want to remove table name from the database, I will use drop table, table name. If I use normally drop table, in the sense here I'm mentioning I want to drop a table and I'm giving the table name, right? Suppose if I want to remove the column, here I wanted to remove column from the existing table, that is the reason I'll use alter command here. Inside alter I will say drop and I will write column. Here I'll say to see, I'll convey to SQL that I want to drop column, and I'll give whatever column name. If I wanted to drop that column name, I will write. Suppose if I wanted to remove bonus, I'll write bonus column. Whenever we are creating only, we will define data type. While removing, we'll just remove that particular column name, right? So we need to use drop inside alter. So let me just select, I'll execute. Sorry, this is, I need to write column name here, and this is syntax, right? So let me write example here: alter table, employees, job, column, bonus. Okay, it got executed. Now let me just refresh. You can see the bonus column is dropped. Again, my old, I got my old table, right? I have only 4 columns now. I added bonus column, and I removed that column. I removed only that column only by using the alter command. So basically by alter command we can add any new column, or else we can remove any existing column also.
Divya, I have one question.
Yes, please.
If it is a foreign key, then
We need to at that time, actually I will tell, we need to first remove the main table, whatever we are referencing. First we need to remove that, and then we need to remove the main table. Once we are discussing primary key, foreign key, I will show at that time how we will remove the foreign key related tables.
I'm not saying about tables. If I need to remove the columns only, so
Only particular foreign key, what on whatever column you will remove that particular column. You are
mm,
talking about on whatever column we defined a foreign key.
yeah, so particular column which we define as a foreign key. So in that case, what we can do?
So suppose obviously on one column we will create a foreign key, right? Suppose
Right.
if we are taking any course ID, students table and course table is there, and we will use one column. Obviously, suppose maybe a course ID column will be a primary key in course table, and that
Mm,
column only will be a foreign key in students table, right? If we are
right.
relating those two tables. So
Right.
now if we wanted to remove course ID column here, so obviously we are using course ID column as a reference column, as a foreign key relationship in the students table, correct? So
Right.
I am using the same course ID column in the students table. So if whenever I wanted to remove that particular column name, first I need to remove that foreign key relationship. Without removing foreign key relationship, I cannot really directly drop that particular column. If I try to drop the course ID column from the course details table, it will throw me the error stating there is a relationship, foreign key relationship in students table also. I cannot remove that directly. I need to first remove the foreign key relation. I need to either remove what we can say directly. First I need to remove the students table, and then if I can able to completely drop the students table, and if I then only I can remove the course ID column from the course table. Or else I need to just remove first the relationship. Without removing the relationship, without dropping that column, I cannot directly drop that column from the main table.
Okay. So can we alter the relationship?
Of course, we will alter the relationship also, and let's discuss this points at that point of time. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. In that integrity constraints column again, like that. This is actually the first use cases about this, the fifth use case. As is it's in the starting, we have 5 use cases in alter command, right? The fifth use case is about primary key and foreign key only. I'll just give you the point here, and basically I will explain this point whenever once we're done with the primary key and foreign key. At that time I'll explain. Okay.
Yeah, sure, sure. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So third use case here, by using alter command we can just change user to change data type and size of any column from existing table. Of course, suppose if I already created the column in any existing table, in the table in employees table, I already created a column, I already defined a data type. If I wanted to change the either data type or size, again I'll use alter command. We are done with the time, we will continue this in tomorrow's class. Okay. So we have basically 5 use cases. This is the third use case. Fourth use case is if we want to rename the column name, that will be our fourth use case. And the fifth use case is, as I said, that use case is basically on the primary key. Even suppose I created some primary keys, and if I wanted to change what I can say, that primary key relationship after creating, if I wanted to change the relationship, again we will use alter command only. But basically we will discuss that point whenever we are done, after we are finished, when we are finished with the integrity constraints concept. At that time I'll explain that point. Okay. So yeah,
Okay.
whatever I said today, I hope I'm clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, like and there is only one way to drop the column only once. So we can't able to drop the columns multiple columns at a time, right?
Dropping multiple columns, yes, we will drop only once.
The same as add.
Actually, by adding, we need to define data type, and we are doing that things, right? For drop, let's see. Suppose let me drop salary. I already dropped bonus column, right? Yeah, even we cannot drop multiple columns at a time also. One column once. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, the course content, about the course content, obviously, uh, as you attended the session, tomorrow you will get a mail. In that they will provide the link of the course content, and yesterday maybe in the previous session I already shown you the course content, right? So all right, let's meet in tomorrow's class. Okay.